I'm
Good.
here. Go live.
You better not be arguing because we're live now. We can just argue in front of everyone instead of behind the scenes as usual. It's a very tough backstage situation we got here. Everyone's always fighting, and then we try to kind of try to bring it together for you guys. This is the Helping Friendly podcast, I think. Still, after all this time, we're back. We got a jam-packed show today, guys. So we can't do all this like how you doing, what's going on, are the Phillies still 5 games ahead of the Mets, stuff like that. We can't do all that today because we got too many things to talk about.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I've got the Cubs game on right here. We're in the middle of a 5-game series against the Brewers, who are I think 35 games ahead of us in the division, but there's a chance we could still catch them. And our young stud pitcher, Cade Horton, went out in the second inning with a blister on his finger, which is that is the season right now.
Oh no. Is this going to be a full collapse when I'm at the game on Thursday? What's going to happen?
I mean, it could be. August is never kind to Cubs or their fans. It's been kind twice. Most other times it's filled with sadness and regret. But carry on. Let's talk about Sigma Oasis.
Well, the weather is going to be great. So I'm excited for the Cubs game anyway. And I'm going to have a hot dog and other food. So I'm excited for that, regardless of what happens. But I do have something, regardless. I do have something I want to say that might make you feel a little sad and regretful. Probably not. But, last episode we were talking about how, Brian, you gave a beautiful monologue about the Boise bag, about why I shouldn't have taken it from you, why you deserved it in the draft. And I made a comment that, I was surprised if I won that draft. And of course I had, but I was looking and saying that you were saying that maybe I only won that draft because of the Boise bag. And I looked back at my list from that draft. Do you remember what I drafted in that draft, Brian? RJ, do you remember?
I mean, I just can't believe we're still talking about old drafts. This is insane.
RJ comes into the draft, he makes his picks, he goes out of the draft.
Exactly.
He's done.
He has no idea.
How would I know what either of you drafted? No idea. I don't even remember what I drafted.
Brian probably remembers, but I will read it to you right now because this is why I won that draft. I have the 97 Lakewood Ghost. Yes, I had the Set Your Soul Free from October 17th, 2021, San Francisco. Yes, I had the Boise bag.
I was there.
I was smart enough to draft it. I had the Fukuoka Twist. I had the It Ghost. I had the 12/30/19 Tweezer. I had the 10/31/95 Yum. Don't you that. The Yum, fine, but not the Tweezer.
10/31/95 Yum. Are you kidding me? Why were we even drafting You Enjoy Myself?
I don't know.
What are we doing here?
Anyway, then I also had the Woodlands Jam.
Yeah, Woodlands Jam's nice. Yeah.
So that list is why I won the draft, not because of just your precious Boise bag. I'm just saying.
You had the 7/23/97 Ghost, which led to Ryan Storm voting for you probably 45 times because the two of you think that that's the greatest jam ever, which it's a fine jam with a 17-minute My Soul jam on the back end of it.
It is a great jam. I'm sorry you don't like to have fun and have funk jams in your shows. Maybe it's just because you weren't there in 97, Brian. You just don't know what it's like.
Maybe you just don't like getting funky. Guess you don't like
I really don't. Can you stroke your chin to the funk? I don't think so. No. The funk is what brought me into Phish. Don't come with me to that question. When someone was this hippie jam band from Vermont played funk music for an entire year, I was like, sign me up. I'm into it. I'm done. I'm here. 7/23/97 Ghost is not what won you that draft. The 6/14/2000 Twist, that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. Great call. Amazing pick. Smart pick. Still
Set Your Soul Free.
That's a great jam with a great riff.
21. The Woodlands Jam. Come on.
Okay.
Woodlands Jam's very, very nice.
So, like RJ's I said, we're not
we
going
to get back on track.
I mean, I already said we're not going to be talking nonsense, and now we're off track. We're talking about old drafts.
Sorry.
We don't even honestly, I don't even remember what draft you're talking about. So please don't say the name of it, so we can move on.
I got over this years ago. And
I never throw it in your face. I just felt like I had to. I just had to.
Can we please do the episode? Can we please do the episode?
If you're gonna slander 97 Phish, then I'm gonna have to do it.
Okay, so here's what we're doing today. First, we're going to talk about Sigma Oasis, Mount Rushmore. We don't even know if Sigma Oasis is old enough to be on Mount Rushmore, legally able based on the bylaws, but it's happening right now. And then in about 30 minutes, we are going to be joined by two luminaries of the jam band world. We're going to be joined by Charlie and Andrew, who help. Well, one of them, I think Andrew is in charge of the jam charts on Fishnet, and Charlie is in charge of, reminding us about everything related to Fishnet. So they're going to join us, and we're going to talk about jam charts. Brian has questions for them. I have questions for that. We're going to have a great conversation with them. So that's why I'm saying voicemails, can't do it right now, but please keep sending them. Please just I wasn't able to get to, I think, one from this week. Just keep calling us and keep telling us what you think, especially if it's good. That number's 484-416-0488. It's in the show notes if you forgot. Okay, so one thing I do have to do, though, as I said, we won't talk about other stuff, but I will do that now. Brian, I have good news for you. If you want to see Reprise in Colorado, you will have your chance because tickets go on sale on Wednesday. They're playing 2 shows at Aphelia's in January, the 16th and 17th.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we are going to Colorado. I mean, we as the Royal, our team. I don't know if I am, but Brian,
You are.
You going to go to one of those shows?
I'll go to them both, my man. Come on, let's go. Get
That's
out
awesome.
here. We can go skiing and we can go to see some Reprise.
Reprise is coming to your town if you live where Brian lives. There's a bunch of other shows coming up. I just wanted to say, I don't think we've mentioned this. They are going to be reprising on September 5th here in Philly, the 12/29/96 show from Philly. And so if you're familiar with that show, which you probably are, you know that means that there's another Tom Marshall sit-in imminent. I'm going to try to talk to him about that somehow. Maybe do a little Instagram thing or something, because you guys know Tom loves getting up on stage. It's his favorite thing. So it's another chance for him to do his favorite thing, which is get on stage and sing in front of people. So there's a bunch of cool Reprise stuff coming up. Go to repriseband.com. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the 19th, I guess that is, we're premiering the 4498 Island Tour show. I think that was the best performed Island Tour show that they did. So that's on YouTube. So check out Reprise on YouTube. Okay. Brian, do you have anything to say about Sigma Oasis before we let Meg talk about the song? Do you want to say anything, or should we just get straight into our amazingly cohesive format that we have adhered to thus far?
I just want to say I think this is one of their best recent songs. I think it is, as a pure song, one of the strongest songs that they have written. I'm wearing my Warren Zevon shirt today because it sounds like Fish channeling Warren Zevon. It's playful lyrically, it's sunny, but also has some kind of dark undertones. It strangely worked thematically really well as like an anthem during COVID when the album came out, and the song had debuted just prior to the onset of the pandemic. And then I think, as we're going to talk about here in the 4.0 era, it's really bubbled up as a really nice jam vehicle. It's got some really stunning improvisation, some thematic underpinnings that make some versions sound alike others with subtle differences, which we'll talk about in terms of like what that means for the song as it evolves. But I think it's cool to catch a song like this only a couple years after its debut, as it has emerged as a pretty promising jam vehicle in kind of a unique manner for the band. And we still don't know exactly where it's going to go. So maybe in 5 years, all 4 of these versions will be off because they'll have performed that many greater songs, which is kind of the joy of podcasting. You get ahead of the game here.
I don't know. I appreciate that. Megan, what do you want to say about the song?
Well, personally, I'm someone who has a deep affinity for poetry, and I have a special place in my heart for Fish songs that are really poetic. And I think this is one of them. There's just some absolutely beautiful lines in this song that I just absolutely love. I think lines like bird song invoking an echo of home, the breeze in the parlor, the bend of your knee, our ligaments falter, we scatter like art, in furrows assemble what tides pulled apart. Those are absolutely beautiful. And Trey has said it rides a razor's edge between literal and poetic, and can mean something really specific to people depending on how they want to interpret it. And those are my favorite kind of lyrics. I also think that the song really represents the best of love and light dad rock Trey. because it's mixed with a pop sensibility. It's such an uplifting song, like you mentioned, Brian. It's really sunny. You roll the windows down, you turn it up loud, it gives you goosebumps. We have to listen to so many versions of this song when we are preparing for these episodes. And this is one of the ones where I wanted to listen to the song part every time because it just makes me happy. I love Sigma Oasis. But I have some history. Are you ready for that now? Or do you
Okay.
want to add on before I talk about that?
Well, I just want to say that I asked, Tom has visited Stone Harbor, New Jersey with me a few times. And when this song came out, I asked him if that second line of the song was in reference to that place that I took him to. And he did not deny it. So that means that,
Really? That's cool.
my favorite place is memorialized in a Fish song, as far as I know. So that's all I wanted to add.
I love that. Well, Sigma Oasis was written by Trey, Tom, and Scott Herman, and it debuted during a Trey solo acoustic show in Boulder on December 15th, 2018. This version was faster, it was in a higher key, had a different riff, and more changing chords. But about a year later, it debuted with Fish on December 18th, 2019 in Charleston in a much closer form to the Sigma Oasis we know today. But it did have a chorus that would later be dropped. Then it showed up in a few tab shows and finally in Mexico with Fish on January 21st, 2020, just before the pandemic. And I think it's actually impossible to talk about this song without talking about the pandemic. Brian, you mentioned it briefly. That April 2020, it was only a few weeks into the pandemic, and Fish announced that they're going to release their new album early and they're going to have a listening party on April 1st. And I remember where I was sitting in the mountains, escaping the pandemic, and listening to this album and watching those black and white photos of the band recording the album and feeling really emotional because I was just so grateful to have this community during that time. And this song, the album opens with it. It's so hopeful and optimistic. And right away, post-pandemic, this song emerges as a band favorite. They played it 4 times in the summer of 2021, and it has that new guitar riff opening at that point. It stretches out a bit at the Gorge that summer, and then it goes type 2 for the first time at Dick's in 2021. Then it spends a lot of time being a set opener, a closer in set 2, and is tied for the most played song in 2021 and 2022. It jammed a few times in the summer of 22 that we're going to discuss, I'm sure, but in 2023, it becomes more of a set 1 song. But recently, it kind of goes either way, serving as either this uplifting show opener, kind of energy injection, or as a launching pad for a pretty big jam. And it's been played 45 times. And since its debut, it's been played every 4 to 5 shows. There are 9 entries on the jam chart, so it has a 20% chance of jamming. And Brian curated 8 versions for us from 2021 to 2025.
Wow, that is a comprehensive history. We even went back pre-pandemic. Bet y'all didn't know all that stuff. See, that's why Megan is the podcast. She is the podcast. She has the fans. She has the info. She has it all. Brian and I we're just window dressing at this point.
The Megan friendly podcast with Brian and RJ.
Oh, yep. There you go.
Featuring the Helping Friendly podcast featuring Megan. Actually, we should do that on the logo.
We should
be the new logo.
That is very disturbing.
It'd be awesome with a picture too. Okay, Megan, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. We gotta get going. We gotta just
Let's go.
We got a high percentage hitter here. We have a bunch of versions to listen to, and I gotta say, I texted you guys this. I don't know if it was like my brain this weekend or what, but to me, maybe just because we're listening to only 4.0 jams, so there's not a ton of differentiation in that sense, but I felt like I was listening to one really long, 4-hour Sigma Oasis jam. And I had a hard time kind of narrowing it down in between the different versions. And I'm curious if you felt that way, but also I want to hear what your first pick is.
I didn't feel it as strongly as I felt sometimes with other songs. There's definitely a classic Sigma jam, I think, in the way that it kind of launches out of the jam into an uplifting, hopeful jam, and then either goes with effects somewhere darker or goes funky. That's how most of the versions to me seem to go. And then they either kind of land back in the song well or end in a big peak. So I think they do follow a similar trajectory. Brian, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely finding that. There's one version I picked that really stands out stylistically.
Yeah, same.
the others feel part of the vibe of the song in a way that like makes me think in a couple of years if they start to break further away from it. Like we almost saw this with Fuego. The first probably like
Hmm. Yeah.
5 to 6 Rushmore quality versions of Fuego felt like an extension of Fuego in almost like a type 1.5 way. And then now, over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of Fuegos that just completely break from the song and don't sound like it in any sort of way. So it'll be curious to see where Sigma Oasis goes, but I definitely agree stylistically. It kind of reverts to like that Neil Young moment of like, you know, someone says, they all sound the same. And Neil goes, it's all one song. You know, it's like, it's one vibe. You're already there, man.
You're already
You're already
there.
there. We're already
Well,
there for Megan's first pick.
Are you ready? Yeah. Well, for the first pick, we're going to an old American city that was once one of the richest in the country. It's no longer as prosperous, but it is the insurance capital of the world. It's America's filing cabinet. We're going to summer 2022, that time of transitioning for Phish after a really strong fall 21, one of our top 10 tours of all time. We're going to summer some great jams, but also some low points, the summer of space funk, and not as many really long jams. And I'm skipping over some good versions of Sigma Oasis, but we are starting with our first chiseling on the Sigma Oasis mountaintop in Gamehenge is 7/24/22, Hartford, Connecticut. We're going to late into set one with an almost 18-minute version of this song. This one has those soaring notes that send us off into the classic Sigma jam. Lasers kind of start coming into play. It's a really uplifting blast off into space, but the space that we're going to is really, really funky. By 7 minutes in, the funk beat that they have is so tight. And Alabama 22 follows this same pattern, which I think kind of is what you're saying, RJ. It has some really great funk sections, but I think this one does it better. Really super effect heavy space funk, so dancey, so fun, sheets of sound, rich textures underneath the funk. And then it gets really melodic and Trey's just playing really delicately over that really tight groove that the rhythm section has. And it ends with an awesome, hopeful peak. So that's my first entry for Sigma Oasis. Thoughts?
I just want to just add there, one of my notes was that there's like a sound effect from Paige like halfway through that sounds like scratching on sandpaper.
Yes.
And it just like kind of adds this like actual texture that sounds like a physical texture. Really cool. But yeah, everything else I think is, yeah, it's a really good version.
This is an excellent version. Strange show coming off of a huge high point the night before in Bethel. And we got kind of the, I don't know. You got a lot of these like set lists during summer 2022 where it was just like, you pick that song and then like a jam would happen and you'd like forget about it. And then you'd be like, wait, you picked that song? Like that's the song we're following up with. That happens a lot throughout the show, even though we featured the show in 40 for 40 because it has an outstanding third quarter as well. This jam reminds me a lot of the Blazon from 12/30/19 in that it just like previews where the band would go in set two. I picked a different jam from this time period, which we'll get into when we get into our sections. But I don't think this is the wrong pick because I really had this going back and forth in my head as one of my top 4.
Yeah, there's some versions that are very similar. I'm curious. I'm excited to hear what you picked. Later, right?
Later.
We did that later.
Not much
right
later. Not much later.
We're moving today.
Are
we ready?
Keeping us going.
Are we ready for
hey, look.
Stop?
We're ready. I mean, listen, if there were people, standing outside the door here knocking, they're like, we're ready. Hey, we're here. I'm just trying to keep traffic moving. That's all I'm doing. That's my only job here. So
RJ has listened back to every one of our episodes and figured out how much fat is in each episode and is trying to trim it all now live on TV.
Yep. That's what I do. That's what I do most is listen to these episodes. Megan, what do you got? What else you got?
All right, for our second stop, we're going just down the East Coast a little bit to where Trey and Tom actually wrote this song. We're going to Las Vegas on the East Coast, immortalized in one of my favorite Springsteen songs. Of course, we're going to Atlantic City. To a run, I stayed in a very depressing serial killer vibe hotel room. It cost a small fortune, but I only slept about 3 or 4 hours a night because I was attending after shows and waking up early to prep for HF Pod Live events on the boardwalk. I got to interview Tom for the first time. It was like a teenage dream come true. It was just a special time for me. It was kind of a coming out party for me in HF Pod events, and it was awesome. And we're going to stay in summer 2022 to night one, August 5th, 22, Atlantic City, a killer show. I'm sorry, RJ. I know you came the next day, but it was still awesome.
Sure did.
We're going again to late in set one to an over 20-minute jam. This is the first Sigma to break 20 minutes. It really, to me, establishes the classic melodic Sigma jam like right away when this jam starts off. And then it builds an intensity and depth, and Trey and Mike are using effects. But there's this moment in the jam when Trey is peaking and he's just building these like beautiful soaring peaks. And Fishman, like I was saying it was double time, but I was talking to my friend Kieran Edwards, friend of the pod, who was like, that is like a complete tempo shift. It's not even like double isn't even like right. It's like quadruple, maybe. I don't know, but it's just he just pumps the tempo so hard and the jam just completely takes off. And I can't think of another time when they're in the middle of a peak like that and Fishman does something like that. It's so awesome. Paige gets on the organ and it just moves. It ends in a rocking little jam too. I just think this jam has incredible flow and is super interesting because of that moment.
Yeah, this is on my list, unquestionably. I have very vivid memories of couch touring the show, knowing I was seeing Fish one weekend later and being like, oh, they have finally turned the corner. I am in for it. Alpine Fish is going to absolutely smoke. Dick's Fish is going to absolutely smoke. I mean, this show, 8/5/22, I think that this is the best show of 2022. Sorry, RJ. Megan just left SPAC the day before night 3. So, we all make mistakes. It happens.
We all make mistakes.
But yeah, I mean, that moment, like 14 minutes in, it's a really good breezy jam. It's kind of the ideal second quarter jam in that it still retains the Sigma vibe, but it is like definitely jamming. And then it does something like it takes a right turn that you're like, whoa, I was not expecting that to happen. And it blows the mind. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I think that like the breakdown, there's so much funk in this version that
that
I mean,
summer was like so
lot of
funky.
that. Yeah. But yeah, like the kind of tempo changes is pretty great. It's pretty chill for a while, and then it kind of just like, yeah, it's a great version. No notes for you, Megan.
Great.
Very band,
Fantastic.
very little feet, just like this is what we want Fish to be doing late in the first set. Like you don't need to go dive so deep into like interstellar space, but just give us a ride like this. This is what we need.
Yeah, a little mustard.
Yeah, I mean, these are, I don't know. I wish I had more notes for you, Meg, but I just don't at this time.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just doing a good job. That's great. Perfect.
Fishman cranks the tempo. There we go. Miles read it. That's probably not.
You wish you were at this show, RJ? Where does that fall for you in terms of regrets in your life?
Low.
There was a tweezer the next night, right? It was the next night or the night after that. I remember, and I was kind of bummed because we didn't get to like hang out during that tweezer, and I was disappointed about that. But I remember, was this the same summer that we saw that the Raleigh show?
Yeah, that was a week earlier.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I swear I really literally have one Fish regret, and it's not going to Big Cypress, and that's it. That's all. Everything else, like,
that's
great.
My Fish regret too. That was dumb.
No regrets, as they say, as Tim Riggins would say. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to number 3. We're doing it. We're just doing it right now.
Okay. You ready for 3?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So I'm skipping over some great versions, but I'm heading out west. I'm heading to the Front Range, to the eastern edge of the Rocky Mountains. I think that's correct because I'm learning all my Western geography because I've read
You
Lonesome
got
Dove.
you got it.
I got it. I'm going to a gorgeous part of the country, to a favorite venue of our esteemed co-host, Mr. Brian Brinkman, a venue I think all of us hope the band returns to. We're going to Dick's Sporting Goods in Commerce City, Colorado. The end of summer tour. We're going to August 29th, 2024. This time, though, we're going to the middle of the second set to a version that's just over 19 minutes. And this one is different. This version to me is different than the others. It's so rhythmic and effect heavy. It's super tight. And Fish is hitting with such a sharpness in this jam, and he's driving it with so much authority. And it made me think a lot about something that you were talking about, Brian, when we wrapped up summer tour this year, that you were talking about how Fishman was playing. And when you listen to his playing in this jam from last summer, you can hear the difference, a massive difference. There's kind of a clunky re-entry into the song, but I still think the jam holds up. I love that it has a different structure and kind of shows the diversity in some of the jamming that is available in Sigma Oasis.
I think you nailed it. This is on my list, absolutely, for all the reasons you said. The only thing I will add is this is like where the other versions feel very classic rock, windows down, classic rock jam that you just pump up and you're like arms are out and you're excited, you're loving life. This is like Fish channeling TV on the radio. It's kind of seedy. It's got like New York urban kind of club undertones to it, like feels like 2006, like a grimy shit, like indie rock show. Then I'm super into it. This is the jam that I think shifted Dick's 2024 from like oh, this is fun and respectable to, oh man, I think things are about to get really serious. And they would drop a 20+ minute Pillow Jets right after. And the next two nights are two of my favorite shows I've ever seen. And just deep, deep, deep jamming. So this really changes the trajectory of the run in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, this run is awesome. I think it's really interesting that like this is probably the one that sounded different in that, very long Sigma Oasis jam that I was listening to.
Yeah.
And for like 20 minutes you get kind of like a really light section, and then I don't know, it's like it is like more patient compared to some of the others, which I like.
Very patient. Like they're not afraid to like leave Sigma completely.
Yeah.
Which I guess is like getting, at a run like that, like the first night, it's just like everyone just chill. Was that the first night they did, or did they do Wednesday that year?
No, this was night one. Extremely undersold show. The most noticeably undersold Dick show I've ever seen. I ended up talking with some people who work at Dick's, and I was like, this isn't going to prevent them from coming back. And they're like, we hope not, but we need more of you guys to show up for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Great stuff. I want to make just a historical note really quickly.
Please.
I should have said this I should have said this last week, but Arju was trying to cut the fat of the end of the episode and moved us onto library card as quickly as possible. Last week's
How long
August
was the
11th,
episode? Like an hour and a half?
At least.
That's like a short compared to most podcasts nowadays. What are you talking about?
It's true.
It's
true.
We got to get to like the 4-hour mark before we start influencing politics. Okay. So
That's
you guys
true.
want to
It's
do
like
some good in this world? Let's like keep
Like
talking
jams.
here.
Yeah.
Like jams. Like what can an hour and a half podcast even do? Like not much,
Not
It
much.
takes that long just to get going.
That's a fair point. You're not even letting me get to my point right now because you're just loving to trim you're just loving to work it. You're working it, baby. Last week's final AC/DC bag, August 11th, 2024, was our first 2024 jam.
Was it?
On Mount Rushmore.
Wow, that's exciting.
So this is now number 2. So we are starting to get to the point where we are in the moment, in the era, making the historical argument for how great current Fish is. I just want to note that.
I love that. I don't think I realized that. That's so cool. I like seeing the widespread if possible because it's nice. I think it honors what they're doing.
Agree.
Okay, are you ready for the fourth one here?
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
ready.
we're just doing
so
really
ready.
good podcasting. We're reading what people are writing, and then we're
I
not
know.
reading it out loud.
We're not
This is
reading out loud
awesome
because
podcasting.
yeah.
There's not enough
So
time.
good.
So
No,
many
just
good
gotta
people
keep
in the
going.
chat. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Megan.
Okay, final version of Mount Rushmore. We are moving ever closer to the present. We're staying out west. We're heading to the city of roses, known for its access to gorgeous waterfall hikes, rainy climate, craft beer, giant bookstores, liberalism gone wild. We're going to Portland, Oregon, and the band's first appearance there in over 25 years. A great show, landing late in the first set to this over 20-minute jam. This Sigma at April 20th, 4/20, 2025 in Portland is dramatic and urgent right away. We get some really emotional bliss peaks with some of that 2025 goodness from Trey. My God, let me just tell you, when you listen to a lot of peaks, Sigma Oasis jams often peak in bliss. And when you listen to a lot of them and you've been listening to 2025 Fish, it is hard not to compare them to how emotional and how beautifully Trey is playing them right now. And so it was a treat to listen to some 2025 bliss peaks in this jam. I love how Mike covers the transition to another really intense building section. It builds to this really swirling, crowd cheering peak that is just the goods and has a perfect drop back into the chorus. So that's my final version.
This is on my list too. Everything you said. We got Chordal Trey, an active mic. We got a big peak. This reminds me probably the closest of the 8.5/22 version from Atlantic City. Some slightly different choices here, but like it feels like a stronger band playing that jam. Like a band that just like seems to know each other and understand each other, playing a very similar style, just as affecting jam, but also, a band that I think we would all agree that the 2025 version is supreme here. And so you get this
Yeah.
just like these full, like fully formed riffs from Trey in a way that we wouldn't have heard a couple of years prior. It's phenomenal.
Hey guys.
Hi, RJ. Meg, what else do you have to say about this jam?
I think it's just nice that we have a 2025 jam up here. And I think, is this our first 2025 jam on Mount Rushmore, Brian?
This is our first 2025 jam to be featured on Mount Rushmore. Sigma Oasis, you're already there.
You're already there. And I love that this song is bringing us there. Brian, I want to hear your list.
So let me post up here on the screen so everyone can see 7/24/22, 8/5/22, 8/29/24, 4/20/25. That is the official Rushmore list that will go in there. I have 3 out of the 4, same with you. I almost had the exact list with you, but I ultimately chose to go with 5/28/22 as my first one. It was that between that and 7/24. Ultimately, one of my biggest critiques of 2022 in the moment was the lack of Mike. And I was really surprised that he really leads the groove right out the gates here. And I thought it was a very cool showcase of where Mike was at this point in time and how he was impacting the band overall. Even, when he wasn't as dynamic as he is maybe today, there was that synth pedal riffing from Trey, like really heavy synth pedal riffing, which is just so emblematic of the way the band was playing in late 21 and early 22. It's kind of like a guide to how you find a glorious peak in rock jamming. And it kind of sounds to me like a sunnier version of Steely Dan. It's not nearly as tight as you would expect from the yacht rockers, but it's got that kind of like, dorky, intellectualized rock approach that Fish sometimes masters really nicely and just hits. So I did 5/28 instead of 7/24, and then 8/5/22, 8/29/24, and 4/20/25, just like yourself.
Yeah, I love that Alabama version. It's like really nice how it goes from like super funky and then just takes on that honest, really hopeful vibe and kind of ends in that place that Sigma starts in. It's a really satisfying jam. I had that in my honorable mention. I also had the Dicks from 21 and the 23 Star Lake. Those were kind of my 3 honorable mentions. But honestly, that's kind of like all of them. So it's not there's not that many yet.
The Dix 21 one, I love that version. I did not have it in my honorable mentions. I love it. RJ was at that show. We did an awesome, huge live podcast outside in the Dick's lot that day. We had Tom hanging out in our section. We had like 25, 30
That was
people in
awesome.
my favorite section at Dick's. And I think that show holds up really nicely. The catapult, it was my first catapult since 7/18/03. Really good. This is a huge compliment coming from me. Really good meat stick. Nice little 11-minute Ruby Waves. We got Bliss in that show. Like, we just had some very, very cool stuff happening. Great McGrupp in set 1. I was very into that show. Great way to end an awesome summer tour.
Yeah, I like this version too. It's really watery and delicate how it starts out, and then it gets kind of like murky and darker, and it has a little bit of like a directionalist vibe, but I like it, and it really fades into like that really soft space at the end. I like that jam. First jammed out Sigma.
That was it. RJ, what do you got?
Yeah.
What's your list?
Yeah, I think I had that 9/5/21, 8/22, 8/5, and then the 4/20/05.
So you
Nice.
skipped 8/29/24.
25. Yeah. I'm not sure why.
Okay.
I listened to it a couple times and it just didn't I mean, mostly because that and the 4/20/25 versions back to back. Like, I think that one from the spring is just, the peak
Yeah.
is phenomenal. There's like that descending riff from Trey as they build toward the end is like awesome. There's just like moments in there where I'm just like, this is, so I think maybe it was just because I listened to those back to back. But so I guess we have like almost all of them represented somewhere. Definitely an honorable
Pretty
mention,
much. Yeah.
I think
which is good.
it speaks to the interesting thing about a new song being featured here is that there's still a lot of debate. I think that, like, when we return and do Rushmore Part 2 in the early 2030s, it'll be interesting to see what we have, what we got right, what we got wrong, what held up via time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to be
And we
surpassed by bigger jams?
Yeah, was there anything from this tour that would have been on the list?
No, but we did have to add this April 20th because Brian had created these lists prior to 2025. And so
Yeah,
we had to go back and add some.
but nothing from summer.
I don't remember. Brian, what do you think? Do you remember anything
No,
offhand?
there's no summer. Let me just pull up. I don't think I have a I don't think I have a Sigma from this year other than the one from Portland. I'm just double checking. No, because it would have made this larger list. Sigma, like Megan said, it really does this interesting job of balancing being a show opener or a set opener that's like a solid 8 minutes. There's a great call out here from Miles Reddit for the Bangor 22 simple. Shout out to Sam Timberg. The two of you need to hang out at a show because nobody has spent more time over the last 2 years trying to convince me of the greatness of the Bangor Sigma Oasis, which is good. It's good. It's good, but it was not going to make this list. But definitely shout out there to fans of that version. Kind of cool, spacey version that caps off the disease. But I don't know, Sigma either really, really hits as a jammer or serves as like what Down with Disease would do in 1994, where it's just like Fish can riff with the best of them and don't need to jam. And then you get a song like this that like is a classic rock riff and then expands into a jam in some really fascinating ways.
I just want to say we do have Andrew who's going to come talk to us about Fishnet Jam Chart in a sec. The fans here, you people who listen to this podcast, you're the most important part of this after Meg. So thank you guys as always for voting and for just being part of this. The fan vote was 9/5/21, 8/5/22, 8/29/24, and 4/20/25. So kind of a mix of a little bit of a mix of all of ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Did you
fun
say
doing a new song.
5/28/22 was their first one?
No, they had the
No.
Dicks from
Oh, they
2010.
had Dicks. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So kind of a
Yep.
mix of all of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone should keep voting. I'm gonna just sorry, Meg. Do you did I cut you off?
No, it's fine.
Okay. We are gonna make a new version of the Mount Rushmore chart right now. This is a big one. It's for next week, and it's actually is it not next week, Brian? Do we actually have 2 weeks?
Next
We have
week.
2 weeks.
Next
Okay,
week
good.
we have a draft. Next week we are drafting
We have a
Yeah.
draft.
shows and jams. 2 weeks from now, we're coming back from Mount Rushmore with an RJ pick of a gigantic Fish song, like one of the biggest like Fish songs in the history of Fish songs, with so many big versions. What are we doing, RJ?
Huge. Many people are saying it's the biggest Fish song there is. We are doing Ghost, guys. It's really getting serious.
Oh my God, that's gonna be hard.
I know it's gonna be hard. I was thinking today that if I had to do it like right now, which we could if we want to, it would be rude to Andrew who's waiting, but like I think I know what I would pick, right now. Like I
Yeah.
think I would be able to name the 4 that I would put on Mount Rushmore, and I'm curious if that's going to change after going through and listening to all of them. So I'm curious, Brian. I know you've probably already done this a long time ago, but did
Mhm.
your opinions change
Mhm.
as you did the listen?
I have one version that I think might make the list, but I have 4 definite and then one like, can this push any of these out? And I don't know if it necessarily can. And similar to what you suggested, RJ, I always go in. I have a small group of confidants that I text my 4 predictions to, which you guys are not, unfortunately.
I know, we're not even
because-
confidants.
We're not
because
confidants.
we have to share this on air. I would love to go through this with you guys, but that's just not how the show works. Megan
No.
made the
No.
rules. We follow the rules.
I did.
This is Megan's show, and we have to just do exactly
But
what
I think
will make
nice-
her
it's
happy.
nice to
So
have
we
a
can't
little,
actually
like,
talk about these jams.
No, because it's nice to have a little bit of excitement and not know what we're gonna pick and be able to bounce off of that. Otherwise,
The
I'll be
best
too like
part,
convinced by your ideas and be like, oh, maybe I should do that.
that's
So I
it.
like,
We don't, none
yeah.
of us want to influence each other. You're absolutely right. about
Yeah.
that.
That's true.
And so
That's true.
I don't want it to be
But I
influenced.
texted my group of confidants and I said, I think that these are my 4 versions, and we're pretty much there. The best part, I will just say before we transition to the jam part or jam chart aspect of this episode, is unquestionably 3 days before we record a Rushmore episode, RJ texts us and goes, I don't know, they all kind of sound the same.
It's so true. Meanwhile, I've been like listening to them for like 6 days straight, just like on loop, taking like notes, like wild, just like getting into the nitty gritty of them. It's so amazing.
Takes all
It's so
kinds,
good.
guys. That's what life
Takes
is all about.
kinds.
And I was
we-
in
okay.
the Dick's draft episode document yesterday, and then I just see like Brian's icon pop up, and I'm like, oh no, Brian's in the Dick's draft document too. I better get out of here so he doesn't know that I'm in here working on this.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
not-
wait for that episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Me too.
It's not too serious. Like all of our drafts, it's not serious. It's just all for fun.
All of
So
it.
we'll be back. We'll be
Yeah.
back. Okay, so thank you all for listening. If you go to osirispod.com/Rushmore, you can see the ghost picks now. We're gonna have 2 weeks. Voting's gonna be open. Let's make this a record. Let's make this a record voting block here. Okay, we are gonna bring on now, without further ado. Wait, maybe we should do some further ado. We're really good at that further ado. Maybe we won't. Okay. Andrew. What's up, Andrew? How's it going, man?
He's muted.
How are you? And Andrew, mute.
Off to a rough
Andrew's
start.
muted. Hi, Andrew.
We're good. Hey.
All good. All good. And we have Charlie. That's Charlie's voice. If you've listened to Fish over the past 30 or so years, you've heard Charlie's voice and you've read his opinions, whether you want to or not. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, happy to be here.
You're welcome. Seriously.
Thanks, guys.
Seriously.
We're so
Thank
happy
you
to
for
have
having
you
us.
guys here.
It's been a long time in the making. We have made it difficult to schedule. It's my fault, but we are here now, and we're here because we talk about the jam charts on every episode, and we treat I think we treat the jam charts like a sibling or something. You know, we kind of are like we couldn't possibly live without the jam charts, and then we also kind of pick on the jam charts. So, you know, but in like a loving way, because first of all, we all know, because I help with some fishnet stuff, not the jam charts, but like it's all volunteer, and it always has been. And, you know, the work that goes into maintaining the largest, you know, database of fish information is, you know, it's a labor of love. Charlie, how long have you been involved in this effort?
It is. Since the beginning, the jam charts started in 1994 or so, when I started reviewing, if you could call it that. I think more apropos is probably bullshitting about tweezers and mic screws and you enjoy myself. I just started uh, rating them, um, and listening to them and reviewing them zealously, as I got tapes of them throughout the mid 1990s. And those reviews, for better or for worse, inspired others to review versions of fish songs. Tim Wade, I think, did Reba. Um, Benji Eisen, I think, did Bathtub Gin. And oh, why am I blanking on his name? Ian, I think, maybe did Harry Hood. And so those got a lot of attention in the 1990s. And then when we Mockingbird Foundation started to create the Fish Companion, the first edition, the jam charts sort of changed a little bit in that we got a larger team together, and individuals were contributing to various songs charts for purposes of publishing them in the book. And as we make, or at least as we tried to make clear, the jam charts that made it into the Fish Companion first and second editions were really primarily designed. Each chart was designed and created by one person with help of a few others, you know, obviously including me, but I mean, at least a few others. And some of them, I think, had even 3 or 4 contributors to them, as noted in those books. But those charts were really versions that were appreciated by those particular people who had heard them on tape, you know, or on CD. They were not intended to be all inclusive. And of course, unfortunately, just given the nature of the beast, a lot of folks thought, oh, well, these guys have heard all the versions that circulate out there, and these are the best. It's like, well, no, those are the best ones, or remarkable versions that the folks who did that chart had heard. And to give you an example of that, there was a version of You Enjoy Myself from 1992 that was sort of discovered within the last few years, that hadn't circulated well on tape, that was an excellent version. I think it was November 20 something. And I added a description about that to the chart, you know, myself, like last year. You know, so that was one that, you know, would have been a glaring omission 20 some odd years ago, if someone knew about it, you know. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, it didn't circulate well, and so someone, you know, didn't know about it. And then Phil Harrison, he and Adam Scheinberg, they sort of transformed the jam charts from where they were at the Fish Companion, the first 2 editions back in 2010, 2011, that period, into what people see, you know, not quite what people see on the site now, but they put all the jam chart data into Google Docs, which then became data into the site. And Tim Wade also helped a great deal in entering that data. And Peter Hughes Cox also helped enter that data. But basically, like, I want to say 2012, 2013, that's when sort of that's when people could start using the jam charts on the site, that you can to the same degree that you can use them now. Like you could you could search them by tour, venue, obviously song name, but also year, and even by day, month and day. I don't know if you've ever done that, but that's pretty cool, because if you have a birthday, you can see all the jam charted versions of something on your birthday, but also by username, so you can see all the versions that are charted that or charted from shows you've seen, or someone. I think you can do it even by someone else's username. But anyway, so that sort of early chart process was really different to what it is now, because back then there wasn't really a team of people listening to everything and like rating them tour by tour as there is today. And back then, about 12 years ago, it was really just these static Google documents where the versions listed were listed only because a handful of people at most had decided they were remarkable and worth putting in the chart. But since Andrew Stavely joined in approximately 2012 was when he started helping, right, Andrew? I think it was 2012 when you started helping. And then he was working on some individual songs, listening to everything and revising the charts for those songs. I want to say that the team, I think, at least as I remember it, formed into what is now the team that reviews and rates everything that Fish plays. Like as the tour is going along, we give a yes or a no on whether something charts, or an M, which means basically we're not sure, and we have to talk among ourselves and see if we can convince someone to change their vote. But basically, like, it was around, I want to say 2014, 2015 that the team truly formed. And at that time it was Andrew and Peter Hughes Cox, Phil Harrison, and Tim Wade, and myself. Does that sound right, Andrew? So that's sort of a segue into the Andrew era, the last decade.
A whole era.
Yeah, Andrew. Andrew, tell us about your era. Tell us about how you got involved, and yeah, any thoughts to add to what Charlie was saying?
Well, like Charlie said, I did start working on individual songs in 2012. Back then, it wasn't the team approach, listening and commenting, voting on everything. It was down to individual chart generators. So I worked on a few of the early iterations of Tube and Sand and Fee and a few others. So I did that for a few years, helping out where I could. And then I was asked, I think it was 2015, asked by Phil Harrison to join the team full time. And that's kind of when we got started in earnest, working as a team, considering everything together.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for all the work. And I hope everybody knows how much we appreciate it. But I think at this point, Brian, do you have thoughts, or do you want to get into it? Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. And I share RJ's thoughts. You guys, there's no way that we could do our show without fish.net as a whole. And I think for the purposes of what we try to do here, the jam chart tends to serve as a guide in terms of building out our various drafts, building out our various projects, be it Mount Rushmore. I think when we were planning out some of the, definitely when we were planning out top 25 tours, we would go through the jam chart to really identify what do we need to be listening to on a tour by tour basis. So you guys do the Lord's work in terms of, really documenting where this band has been at their strengths. And I'm curious, it sounds like from what you guys were describing, a lot of this started with one individual listening to versions and saying this definitely needs to be up here. It's much more of an organized process now. You said that as you guys go through each tour, you're like, this is a jam that we're going to be reviewing. This is not. This is a maybe. One that immediately jumped out to me, just I think a good springboard here, the Super Bowl Mound. We've got a 7.5 minute, 8 minute version of the song that I think we would all argue doesn't necessarily jam, but it is notable. It's very notable. I mean, it's some of my favorite playing that Trey had in summer 2011 and really to that period in 3.0. And I think it's like one of those songs that probably should be on a list of some sort. But I'm curious, maybe Andrew, you could speak to this. Like, how do you decide on a version like that? When it is kind of, technically speaking, just diverting from Mound for like 30 seconds and then coming right back to it. How does that for you kind of distinguish a jam chart version versus something else?
Well, for that Mound in particular, no, it's not a long Type 2 jam, but it's certainly objectively different than I think every other version of Mound played to date.
Totally.
And it's got a great Trey solo in it at the end. So with the song, I think of it a lot of times in terms of what's the bar for this song.
Yeah.
Weezer has a super high bar. Ghost, Disease. Mound, if you do anything a little bit different. I mean, if we get another 7-8 minute Mound that does something just out of the ordinary, it's probably going to chart.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that's the Watkins Glen one, right? So and I just checked because I thought we did chart that, and not only did we chart it, but it's the only version of Mound that charted. And again, the reason for that is because Mound's not a jamming tune first and foremost. Like, it's not a song that typically improvises and has been improvised on in the past. But that version was remarkable, and there was a time, which isn't really the present time, when the charts really were intended to also note remarkable versions, even if they were remarkably bad and remarkably awful, like some versions from that Amsterdam show in the mid-90s that was just dog shit basically. And
very fun though. As someone who was there, it was very fun.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, there were drugs involved, obviously, for
a little bit.
Band. But no, it's like one of the worst played shows ever in the history of music. But it's but hilariously so. And but the charts back then actually did note versions that were remarkable even for a silly reason like that, whereas now, because the set lists have song notes and show notes that we can easily tell someone if a song had to be repeated, or the beginning had to be repeated, like Yem, or something unusual happened in it, someone sat in, for example, stuff like that. And so versions like that won't necessarily chart these days because the set lists have show notes and stuff like that. And so they won't chart, just because they're remarkable. Nowadays, versions will chart, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we only chart versions that get at least 4 yeses out of 6 of us. There's
it's a majority. Yep.
Yeah, and other team members, there's Brendan and Josh Coron and Paul and Rich Liza. So like there's 6 of us now on the team, and Anthony Kim, Noob 100 on Fishnet Forum. He was a member a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it's like we all listen to everything. Sometimes it's that the voting is really funny, and that usually it's everyone's an N or everyone's a Y. Usually. But it's like because as you would expect, I'm sure that's probably true among the 3 of you. But it's just it's funny sometimes because like there have been times when I've been, believe it or not, the only Y, and I have to like, am I going crazy? I'm supposed to be the most critical person, and yet here I am, like thinking that a version of Hey Stranger is like the greatest one ever. And so and on that point, actually, Hey Stranger does not have a jam chart, and I'm presently lobbying the team, as Andrew knows, I'm lobbying for it to have a jam chart, because I believe that some versions this summer are just too good not for it not to have a jam chart. It's just got to have a jam chart. And but there's and I think Punch in the Eye, I think, doesn't have a jam chart, but there were several versions of this song this summer that had extended intros. So I think we have to.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Andrew? I think we have to start a
that is right.
Jam chart. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's a democratic process. the descriptions that get added, after a tour is over, based on the votes, the descriptions that get added to the site for the versions that are charted, those are written by a volunteer on our team, and usually I think written by, Andrew. I think you do you write most of them these days? I think.
No, we go for a pretty even split amongst the team.
Yeah, and well, not me. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not as helpful as I'm
Charlie excluded.
Yeah, it's like I'm not really that helpful.
You have
but
emeritus status.
yeah, exactly. My descriptions are insane anyway. They try not to allow me, I think, to write some of the descriptions that I've written. But it's on that note, actually, Brian, we would actually like to invite you to be a team member, if only temporarily, for the upcoming shows in September, just so you can see the process yourself and actually just vote with us.
Wow.
Because that'll make
Live
7
cast.
of us. That'll make 7 of us on the team.
Live
you
on
can
air
see.
promotion. My goodness.
If you're interested.
I would love this. I would
the only
love
requirement
to see
is
the process.
the only requirement is that you have to listen to everything, even riffs.
Well, that already is taken care of.
Even riffs, and you have to do what I do, which is listen to everything in the order that it is performed and not jump ahead, even though your friends are screaming at you to listen to something right away.
You
You
can't
don't have
scream
to do
loud
that.
enough. I
Seriously,
have
but-
a process, Charlie. I think it is.
Okay.
It is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's insane, and it requires a lot of re-listening and a lot of notes and a lot of updated notes. I'll actually. We'll trade. I'll add you to my larger note process so you can see what that looks like as I review the Jam of the Year list going into fall tour.
Thank you.
It's
Brian
like the
was born
Charlie,
for this.
the Charlie Always Sunny in Philadelphia whiteboard thing with the string.
Exactly. It's just like that. It's just like that.
No, I would love that, man. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, good. I wasn't sure how you'd react, frankly, to it. So
this is
so you decided to throw it on air, Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't consulted any of these other team members.
I love
They'll
that.
be really surprised. No, I'm just kidding. What's that?
It's like an episode of Oprah, where at the end, everyone gets a car, but Brian gets to be on the Jam Charts team. It's
amazing.
live on air. This is so great.
That way, maybe
and Charlie. Hey, Charlie, by the way, just given that I saw my first Fish show 30 years ago and I've been running this podcast for 12 years, I'm not offended that you didn't ask me. Don't worry. It's fine. I'm not I'm not really a big Fish guy,
It would never have occurred to me to ask you.
I
mean, I have listened to enough HF podcasts to know that your opinions on Fish are not to be completely trusted. Brian, on the other hand,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well,
Brian,
I wanted to thank both of you guys for your work, because as someone who really appreciates this idea of the archive and how important it is to have a record of things, what you have contributed to the Fish community is something that will last forever and is so important. And I don't have Brian Brinkman or RJB's encyclopedic brain. And so the Jam Charts are really where I live, and I couldn't be on this show without fish.net and all the work you do. And I just really want to say thank you. And I also want to know what you think about when you're trying to write these. Maybe this will be helpful for Brian too, since he's going to be maybe potentially writing some of these, but I want to know a little bit more about what you're trying to go for when you're writing a description in the Jam Chart.
Andrew, I mean, he's more qualified to answer that, but I can tell you from my experience in the distant past, because I don't think I've written that many descriptions in the last year. It's really just all inspired by the music. Like, it's kind of stream of consciousness. It's, I might, obviously if there's a key change, or modulation or Trey, I'm a huge fan of Trey's Neutron, elevator, his pedal, his envelope filter. Sorry, apologies to envelope filter and Neutron lovers by calling it an elevator pedal. But anyway, but I tend to get like stream of consciousness. If anything, I have to cut down what I've written in the description. In fact, the longer the description you see in a Jam Chart entry, the more likely it was authored by me and wasn't edited by Andrew. But I think it depends on the person, right? Right, Andrew? I mean, I think it just depends.
Yeah, I think everyone on their team has their own style. You know, some people write a little more descriptively, some are more short and to the point. I think both kinds of descriptions there's room for both on the charts. After you've written dozens, hundreds, I hope not 1,000 of these, it can become a little hard to come up with new ways to describe fish jamming.
Yeah, I relate to that deeply.
Yeah.
Right.
How many different ways can I call this bliss or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like that when I'm taking notes for the show a lot. Yeah.
So
But
it definitely helps to be, you know, if I hear a jam and I'm really actually inspired by it, you know, that's one that I'll sign up to write for right away, because it just, the words come easier when you're not trying to, you know, scratch for something that's not there necessarily.
And you know, and for your listeners out there, if you think that a description is really poor and terrible, you're almost certainly right. There are a lot of descriptions that I authored from old legacy versions on, you know, these older jam charts, where it wasn't, you know, I didn't write a description really caring what someone thought about it at all, and they haven't been revised and edited in 26 years or whatever, you know, and so if you see something that you think should be changed, send in a new description for it, and we'll put your name or username as credit in there. I'm serious. Just don't hesitate to
That's
do that.
amazing. That's
We're all
so exciting.
volunteers. You know, we don't have like there's no entitlement. You know, it's like if you think, because I'm looking at the Mal one right now on my screen from Watkins Glen, and the description is simply, the timing is 8:01, Brian. So I think you were, when you said it was 8 minutes, you were right on. And the notes say great version, which includes an unusual, straightforward outro jam. So I didn't write that, and I can tell you how I know, because I don't know what the fuck unusual, straightforward means. Like, to me, straightforward necessarily does not mean unusual, but I think the
Right.
person who wrote it just meant it was like it was an unusual, atypical coda, you know, an outro jam improvisation. And by straightforward, he meant to say, I'm certain it was a he, sadly, but it meant to say probably, you know, type 1 or, you know, straight ahead, like gunning, you know, rocking outro jam. That's probably what he meant, but I don't know, because I didn't author it. But that's a description, Brian, which you're welcome to change at your convenience, and just email it to me and I'll change it on the site myself.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like you're about to get a lot of emails from Brian Brink.
So-
Gonna take
Take
a
the
while.
floodgates here, Charlie.
Yeah, no, and but exactly, Andrew's like going to kill me now. He's going to text me, "What have you done?" But also, you know, that's why I said it's important to, you know, if you do want to put a description on there, you know, obviously you can have your name after it in parentheses if you'd like. It's like, we don't, you know, none of this is stuff that, you know, we feel entitled to. I mean, the whole purpose of this obviously is to help with, you know, archiving Fish's music, as Megan noted, and it's you know, we don't have any personal issues with it, and in fact, like on the contrary, it drives me nuts when people kind of refer to the jam charts as the gospel according to Fishnet, because Fishnet has a lot of different people with different opinions, and as noted earlier, just because something is on the chart doesn't mean I agree that it should be charted. Like something can chart with four Y's, you know, and even if it's two N's, you know, and I'm one of them, oh well. So, you know, it's just one of those things, you know. I wouldn't want someone to think, and frankly, similarly, if something doesn't chart and you think it should, you should let us know why, you know, in detail, ideally with timings and from the version, and maybe even citing other things on that have been charted, specifically, especially actually through if they've been charted earlier in the tour, because sometimes there's clearly a bias in favor of versions on a tour that, you know, tend to excel more than others, but that's obviously challenging sometimes if something is great all the time, which Tweezer frankly is a lot of the time, and so we end up, you know, not charting something which, you know, 10 years ago would have been easily charted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's just
so much
inevitable that
Yeah.
happens. It's just inevitable because Phish is, sometimes goes on these streaks with certain songs where it's like every version they're playing is excellent, and like way better than it used to be. Like My Friend is a great example of that. I mean,
Yeah.
started improvising regularly, seemingly out of nowhere, after doing practically nothing forever. Similar to Sample in a Jar in that sense. It wasn't until Jam Night that Baker's Dozen when it finally was extended and jammed out. But My Friend, is just it because it's commonly improvised on nowadays. There's at least one from this past tour that we're not charting, even though if that had been played 10 years ago, we would have lost our minds. So
Which one is that, out of curiosity?
well, you're not on the team yet, so you can't know until they're published.
I love that.
But you will know soon when you get
All
access
will be
to our Google
revealed
Doc.
in due time.
Yeah, but that's just it. There's things there's versions of Tweezer from the last decade which are excellent. If they've been played in the early 2000s, people I think would have been thrilled. But they don't necessarily chart. Because everything is so good, and so there's definitely some versions of things which may improvise quite a bit, but the improvisation just kind of it sounds more like improvisation and not like melodious composed music, and that kind of jamming in quotes is, some people love it, and I obviously love it all the time when I'm seeing it at the show, but I might not want to listen to it again. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
in one
fascinating
ear
to
out the
think
other.
about that. It's
Yeah.
fascinating to think about how much the bar has changed for the jam charts throughout Fish's career. I mean, in 4.0, the bar it's pretty high
Oh,
because
yeah,
they
they're
jam so much now.
and they're playing so well. I mean, as you know,
Yeah.
Megan, it's like they've played so many things over 20 minutes too. It's become so common that people, if you don't get something over 20 minutes at a show, you're like, gee, I was
Yeah, you're
disappointed.
like,
but
geez, I just went to
it-
Boulder and didn't even
right.
get what I wanted. Just
And of
kidding,
course,
guys.
and back in the mid 90s, the only things that would really go that long were You Enjoy Myself or maybe a Mike's Groove, if you include whatever the hell was sandwiched in the middle. I mean, and now you get tweezers that are routinely over 20 minutes long, and that was not the case for most of the 1990s, obviously. And so, and there's even something, Andrew, like what was it? There was something this summer which was it Carini, where it's like the longest version ever
Right.
was
Yeah.
played.
Forest Hills.
And
Yep.
and I was like, Forest Hills, right? And I actually I'll actually read you my secret comments on this thing. But it's like
Ooh.
I said, and of course it got 6 Ys because it's this huge long Carini. It's, what was it? It's 28 minutes and 48
28,
seconds.
yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rich has written the description, but here is my comments on it. I think we have to chart this because it's the longest version ever and remarkable for that reason, but the improv is average grade at best, in my opinion. I will listen to it one more time along with the rest of this show, but the music at this one struck me as average grade at its peaks. So that's pretty jaded, right? So I apparently am never listening to that version of Creedy again. Based on that, but it's
I don't
still
know
going
that
to
it's
chart.
wrong. I don't
Yeah.
know that it's wrong.
It
But it's
brings up
still
an
gonna
interesting
chart.
dilemma because it is the longest
Yeah.
version, and I think that the way that they escape Carini in that is in a really fascinating manner of very straight ahead, zero effects, just Trey and Page back and forth riffing, kind of building off of each other. But then when you get to the back end of that jam, 20 to 28 minutes, you're kind of in a pretty standard zone of like Fish can do this type of jamming in their sleep. And I mean, for you guys, when you think about the bar right now, but then you think about the bar in certain other tours and certain other eras of the band's history, do you ever think about, or have you started like an audit of past jam charted episodes or jam charted jams, or jams that have not that did not make the jam charts that may, upon reflection 20-30 years later, deserve to be on there? Is that a part of your guys' overall process, or is that just
Yeah,
kind
definitely.
of out of the go ahead?
Let Andrew talk. Yeah.
The charts are never set in stone. There's tweaks and changes. They happen somewhat frequently. one of the biggest things the team is reckoning with in 4.0 is the bar being raised so high for a lot of these songs. So I know one of our longer term projects would be to go back through and look at the charts from, early 3.0, 09 up to
Mm,
14 at least, and say, hey, does this really stand out as a notable jam considering everything that's gone on in the last 10 years? So that's one of the big projects that we'd like to do, although, we've been kept so busy keeping up with the current tours because it's
yeah,
just been
It's a lot.
crazy.
it's
Yeah,
so
we're
much.
so
It
blessed
yeah,
though.
that's
Jeez.
I know. It's an
Just
overwhelming
incredible.
task to think about that, and like it's so interesting to think about. I mean, we talk about it so much on the show, just looking back historically on the band and seeing how we view different eras comparatively, and it's really hard to stack things up against 4.0, which is just shocking. Continues to shock me.
Yeah, I think I think in 21 it was kind of like a switch was flipped, and it happened so quickly that sometimes you got to step back and not take it for granted. And it's really pretty astounding what they've been doing the last few years.
Yeah, like even thinking about that Carini, like I just looked at my notes. I was there and my notes are like hypnotic, that's it. Like, and it's kind of not even that notable. And it was like a 30-minute jam. It's just like it wasn't even,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just where we are right now.
It's like
Wild.
nothing compared to the Tahoe Tweezer. Like the Tahoe Tweezer just kicks its ass, like just
Yeah,
like every few minutes, just like wham, wham, wham. And of course, it's still Fish. We still love it. It's not. It's nothing to say that it's not crap. It's just they've
The
themselves set a
bar.
really high bar.
It's their fault. I always say that it's their fault. Like we wouldn't have these expectations if they didn't do this. So it's their fault.
Yeah, it's like we demand transcendence at every show. It's like there's got to be
We
it.
do.
There's got to be hose.
Yeah, we do.
It's like otherwise we just want to cry ourselves to sleep afterwards. No,
Well,
seriously,
they can stop doing it and
it's
then
so
we
much
won't
fun.
expect it, right?
Right, but it's yeah, which would be awful, obviously. But yeah, it's yeah, we're spoiled for sure.
Massively.
But
I mean,
good.
speaking of that,
What-
because you guys were working through this throughout the middle part of 3.0, where we would have these kind of tentpole tours where a lot of ideas and a lot would come together, fall 2013, summer 2015, summer 2017, with some dips. And I'm curious, like, if you guys can think back on that period in your role of documenting the strongest jams. What was that like for you guys as you're supposed to be showcasing to people like what you should be listening to, but there are these like pretty significant peaks and valleys? Like, do you guys remember what that era was like from a documentation standpoint?
I mean, Andrew, I don't know if you can see me laughing, but like I remember very, very vividly just giving an end to entire shows, just end and then I would copy and paste the end like through every song and just paste it, and then there'd be exceptions, right? So
at times
the
jams were so scarce. It was it was water in the desert, so we were excited.
Yeah,
to get
so
anything.
if there was
Totally.
so that's the thing. It's like if there was anything that was pretty gripping, we freaked out. We were like, joy, it's and it's like I don't remember Andrew having any disputes other than whether something should actually be charted, because we haven't charted anything for that song in like 2 years or a year or whatever. Remember, I think that's kind of what I remember was we felt obligated almost to say that at least something was worth charting from every show, like one thing. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
And also by doing it that way, I think that's it speaks to the situation I was describing earlier, where now there's probably quite a few things charted from those days that doesn't necessarily stack up to what we've been getting more recently.
Yeah.
So it can cause an imbalance, but the charts are never going to be perfect. We just keep working at them.
And there's also obviously personal biases, at least in my case. Like, I was definitely, I had a really hard time with Trey's tone, and still do at times when he uses the pitch shifter a lot. I'm just extraordinarily sensitive to pitch. And so when something sounds like crap and I see everybody around me or, cheering and yelling, and I'm just like, how can you not hear that he's flat on, or sharp or whatever? That's hard, and there was thankfully this tour, there's not anywhere close to as much of that as there was
No.
10 years ago, or 12
Yeah.
years ago, I should say, not 2015. But with, when he was relying on the pitch shifter a lot, it was a struggle, because I did listen to every note, like even songs I
Totally.
never want to hear again, because I still occasionally find joy out of even songs like that I've been hearing, for 30 years now, so all the time. But it's just, so there's those kind of biases too, and we all have little quirks, I think, like that, and like little prejudices. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the good reason why we have so many people, reviewing things, is because, none of us are perfect in quotes all the time. And of course, I surprise myself with my own profound deafness, routinely, in that, sometimes I just can't believe that, I miss certain things, probably because I'm running and distracted and it's in one ear and out the other. And I go back and listen, and I say, oh, okay, that's why everybody but me was a Y on this, right? But that's happens. Like there's been time, and vice versa. Like there's been times when I'll like think something's freaking amazing, and then I'll go and see, and everyone else is an N, and I'm like, what? Am I crazy? And then I go back and listen to it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess maybe I can hear why it's just a average, great, awesome version of whatever song it was.
Just hit you in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but people shouldn't hesitate to let us know if they want to add their own description to something, if they think it's an improvement, which it will be almost certainly.
Yeah.
If it's like a legacy you enjoy myself for Mike's song, because if it's something that I did 20 some odd years ago, then you can correct it.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with us, on every Jam Chart page, there's a feedback and corrections button in the top right corner. So just fill out that form. That's the best way to get our attention.
Yeah, by far. Yeah,
Awesome.
so.
Well, this is fun, guys. You got a new recruit out of the deal, and
thank you, Brian.
We
Thank
got
you,
to
guys.
we got to discuss some of this stuff. If you have questions, if you're listening to the audio version, send us a voicemail and let us know. If you have questions for these guys or want to give any feedback, or just thank the Fishnet team for what they do. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining.
Yeah,
I got one last
So much.
question for you guys, just because we're talking jam charts, we're talking high bars. I don't want to put either of you on the spot, although I do. That's like a podcasting tactic. What is the number one Fish Jam each of you has ever heard?
Go fuck yourself.
Brian, I thought you were going to at least say like of the year, and I had a good
That's what I
answer
did
for that.
too.
Because I'm in agreement with you on the year, or at least
Of the year.
tour. Austin, Golden Age.
There we go. I love this.
Of all time, I'll go with Radio City Ghost.
Oof.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Love that.
I don't know
that
how.
pick.
I just don't know how people can do that. I really can't. It's like if a certain jam gets me to this transcendent place, I can't put one over the other. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got
I
a
don't- I
great
just can't do it.
recording of you with some excellent music behind it that I produced, crying talking about the 12/31/95 Mike song. So I think you can.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but that's not my favorite, right? So there's all these other jams that would also make me cry, but including ones that I've seen, and I wasn't even at Cyprus. People just assume I was at Cyprus, and that's no, I was not fucking at Cyprus. And so I can't stand really large crowds of people. I went to enough Grateful Dead shows a long time ago in stadiums, and I'm just like, like I just can't. It's just too much. And
I'm in my webcasting era too. I get it.
right. But it's like I have trouble even doing a top anything. Like I can't. I just there's segments of things that I might really love, like the 1994 stash. There's this point. There's this 3-minute section in there which Mike starts, and and I could like sing it. Like it's just to me like that when improvisation hits this kind of melodic field or whatever, it's just so phantasmagoric, I think is the word I'm looking for, but like it's just so amazing to me that I can't be like, oh, well, I'll have to relegate that to like number 27 out of my list of 50. I just can't. I can't do that because there's just so many improvisations by Fish, especially periods of music. Like every 30 some odd minute version of Tweezer, there's something like that probably in it for at least some segment of time. And then like the Mud Island Tweezer, most of it is amazing. But like, and then I think it's like Finger Lakes, or is it Canandaigua, like from later?
Same.
Yeah, where like it's
62.
after a certain point, like it doesn't get like really, really good until like the 28-minute mark or something. And then it's just like, what, for like 10 minutes, it's just insanely good. Like there's just nothing, I don't see how you could put anything over it, like from any era. Like it's either equal to reaching this apex of, bliss and, transcendence and or it's not. Like it's just not. To put one or the over, I just think is in madness. And I hear you when you say you got to be in person for it. I get that, but like I've seen 170 something, I think, shows. I think sort of roughly. So there's a lot there, to choose from. Still, I'm very, very lucky that way. I was at SPAC, for God's sake. I mean,
hell yeah.
The third. I mean, what a Tweezer reprise.
Something we've
Not
always
reprise
wanted, never knew how to ask for. I don't think that we had on our bingo card that you would be recommending the 5/19/94 stash. So for anyone out there who hasn't listened, I will back you up. That is an outstanding version of that song. So we will push that out, and I'm excited to get to work with you guys. This is awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming by. And I think it's very helpful for us and for our listeners to hear what the process is. And again, to reinforce the volunteer nature. Everyone on this call loves this band, thinks this band is incredibly important. And even though, we're flying high-end journalists around the country to get insights into various aspects of Fish, the hard work of documenting this band is happening right here.
Right.
Thank you. Donate to mockingbird.org.
The summer 25 jam charts will be posted soon, hopefully in the next week or so. So be on the lookout.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much for all you do. Honestly, could not be on the show without you. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we get kicked out now? Just booted?
RJ's the boss. We'll see.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Seriously, thank you guys for your time.
All right.
It's so fun.
You're welcome.
So fun. Thank you for thanks for coming, Charlie. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Yeah, same. Hopefully we can do this
Thanks
again
for having
sometime.
All right, guys. I think that's it. I think we did it. We did everything we were supposed to do today, so we're gonna end it there before we fuck anything else up. We'll see you guys next week for a draft that Brian has invented that we will be doing, and I'm gonna figure that out between now and then. So good luck, everybody.
Next draft, baby.
All right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Bye,
Dick
Andrew.
shows.
Bye, Charlie. Thank you, Megan. Thank you,
Bye.
Brian.
See
Bye,
you guys.
everyone. See you
Bye.
soon.